Alexandra Eala versus Hailey Baptiste game day. Everything you need to know.
Good evening to tennis enthusiasts connecting with us from every part of the world. You're linked into the premier comprehensive analysis of a contest that has created waves throughout the tennis sphere and literally transmitted a Chinese letter W of VE directly to the country's governmental center. We're discussing a confrontation that hardly anyone forecasted, but everybody is currently monitoring. The title displayed on your monitor is not overstated. Washington, D.C. exists in a condition of complete astonishment today as her local talent Hailey Baptiste discovers herself at the focal point of one of the most theatrical, unexpected, and critical storylines of the 2026 WTA campaign. She's advancing onto the hard surface at the Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships. Not merely to compete in a contest, but to struggle for her profession's drive against an unstoppable presence that has emerged from the Philippines to dominate the international arena. Alexandra Alex, this represents competition day. This represents the instance where capability encounters actuality. And if you believe this is simply another initial round contest in a WTA 1000 tournament, you are seriously incorrect. The circumstances surrounding this confrontation is dense with strain, background, and an unusual sequence of occurrences that has brought us to this exact moment. Why is Washington astonished? Why is the tennis universe humming? Because arguably this contest shouldn't even be occurring the manner it is. We must discuss the fortunate runner-up opportunity. We must discuss the strategic development of Alex Eala. We must discuss the pure mental burden resting on Hailey Baptiste's shoulders. Let's backtrack for an instant to comprehend importance here. Hailey Baptiste, the honor of the DMV region, a competitor who exploded onto the platform in Washington, D.C. years earlier by defeating Madison Keys, has been on a wild ride that would cause your head to rotate just days earlier in the scorching temperature of the Dubai preliminary rounds. It appeared like the aspiration was finished. She encountered Rebecca Stramova. She struggled, she persevered, and she was defeated. It was devastating. The Washington supporters observed as their celebrity seemingly fell out before the primary event even commenced. The story was composed. Baptiste returns home. But then the reversal, the surprise, a pullout in the primary bracket opened the entrance just slightly. Baptiste was given clemency, a fortunate runner-up position. She's returned in. She's been provided a second existence. And who is anticipating her on the opposite side of the court? Not a seasoned player seeking a compensation, not a preliminary competitor, content to be present. No, she's encountering Alexandra Eala. If you haven't been monitoring Alex Eala in 2025 and initial 2026, you've been overlooking the emergence of a genuine celebrity. The Raifan Natal Academy alumna, the U.S. Open youth victor, the initial Filipino to ever capture a Grand Slam primary bracket contest. She's not merely ascending anymore. She has materialized. She arrives at this contest not as an outsider but as a competitor who possesses a mental advantage, having conquered Baptiste in their sole prior encounter on the lawn surfaces of Eastbourne last season. So here's the arrangement. You have Baptiste, the Washington resident, competing with bonus resources after a narrow escape situation in preliminary rounds, frantic to demonstrate she merits inclusion in the leading 50. You have Eala, the systematic lefty executioner, seeking to solidify her position as the emerging monarch of Asian tennis and penetrate into the higher levels of the WTA standings. The approach is completely opposite, the importance enormous, the environment charged. This video is your conclusive, thorough, exhaustively detailed guide to Eala versus Baptiste. We're going to deconstruct the specialized subtleties, the RPMs on Eala's forehand versus the direct strength of Baptiste's delivery. We're going to examine the surface velocities in Dubai and who they benefit. We're going to investigate the psychological combat, the instruction approaches, and the consequences for both competitors' standings. Prepare yourself, obtain your beverage or your snack because we're about to analyze the most fascinating matchup of the day. This is a comprehensive investigation. This is the reality. This is everything you require to understand. The competitors, a narrative of two universes. To genuinely comprehend the surprise and the expectation, we must initially deconstruct the fighters. This is not merely participant A versus participant B. This is a collision of two separate tennis doctrines, two different upbringings and two divergent routes to the summit. The honor of the Philippines, Alexandra Eala. Let's begin with Alex Eala. At merely 20 years of age, she bears the burden of an entire country on her back. The Philippines has perpetually been a nation enthusiastic about athletics, basketball, combat sports, but tennis was anticipating a champion. Eala is that champion. Her path is one of deliberate superiority. Departing her household at a tender age to prepare at the Raifan Natal Academy in Majorca, Spain wasn't merely a relocation. It was a declaration of purpose. She didn't travel there to be satisfactory. She traveled there to be exceptional. And you can observe the natal characteristics in her competition. It's not merely about the lefty forehand, though we will arrive at that. It's about the ferocity, the unwillingness to surrender on a solitary sphere. In the previous 12 months, we have observed Eala convert from a youth sensation into a circuit-level danger. The shift from youths to professionals is the cemetery of victors. Many U.S. Open youth champions never penetrate the leading 100. Eala has demolished through that obstacle. Her 2025 campaign was a disclosure, stunning Ig Swiatek and Madison Keys in Miami, achieving her initial WTA championship match in Eastbourne and shattering the Grand Slam barrier at the US Open. Technically, Eala is a nightmare to compete against. She's a lefty, which already provides her a numerical benefit on the inside delivery and the diagonal forehand rallies. But unlike numerous lefties who depend exclusively on rotation, Eala has cultivated a flattening capacity. She can roll the sphere with substantial top rotation to force you backward and then suddenly advance in and flatten it out along the boundary. Her mobility has enhanced drastically. She's no longer merely scrambling. She's gliding, recuperating, and counter-striking with intensity. The Washington combatant, Hailey Baptiste. On the opposite side, we have Hailey Baptiste. Born and raised in Washington, D.C., Baptiste's narrative is one of pure, undiluted talent and the battle for steadiness. When she's performing, she's a leading 20 competitor. She has abilities that are arguably some of the finest on circuit. Her capacity to combine velocity to employ a drop strike, to advance to the court and strike with delicate abilities. It's traditional tennis with a contemporary strength variation. But the Washington surprise frequently originates from her volatility. Baptiste can conquer a leading 10 competitor one day and be defeated to a preliminary competitor the following. That is the irritation and excitement of observing her. Her delivery is a tool. When it's operating, she obtains complementary points. Her forehand is substantial, but her mobility can occasionally be revealed by grinders who force her to strike that additional sphere. The reality that she's a fortunate runner-up here in Dubai is symbolic. It corresponds her profession's story of second opportunities and unexpected surges. She was defeated in the concluding round of qualifying to Rebecca Shramova, a contest she probably felt she should have captured. The frustration must have been devastating. But tennis is a harsh and generous mistress. The pullout occurred, Baptiste is returned, and historically fortunate runners-up are hazardous. They compete with a feeling of liberation. The burden of qualifying is eliminated. They've been provided a supplementary existence, and frequently they attempt for the barriers to the head-to-head, the Eastbourne precedent. We cannot discuss about today without discussing about yesterday, or more particularly June 2025 Eastbourne lawn surfaces qualifying round. This was the initial and sole time Eala and Baptiste confronted each other, and what a conflict it was. The final score reads Elf Baptiste 6-7, 7-6-1. That final score communicates you a narrative. It communicates you that for two sections there was completely nothing distinguishing them. It was a tiebreak chance. Baptiste captured the initial, utilizing her diversity on the minimal bouncing lawn to interrupt Eala's cadence. A displaying that psychological strength we examined seized the second section in another tiebreak. But then the third section occurred 6-1. This is a crucial information element for today's contest in Dubai. In that third section, Baptiste diminished. Physically, psychologically, it's difficult to state conclusively, but Eala's conditioning and persistent steadiness shattered the American resolve. Once the contest progressed deep, the Natal Academy preparation activated. Eala escaped with it. Why is this applicable for Dubai? Because Dubai is a hard surface, not lawn. The circumstances are demanding, it can be heated. The surface can be rapid but abrasive. If this contest progresses 3 sections again, the mental wound that Eastbourne third section will be in Baptiste's consciousness. She understands she cannot permit Eala drag her into profound territory. She must conclude this in 2 or she risks being endured again. 3. Strategic deconstruction. Components to triumph. Let's arrive into the details. How does Eala capture this? How does Hailey Baptiste overthrow the probabilities for Alexandra Eala? Target the backhand area. Baptiste has a substantial backhand, but her forehand is the tool. Eala, being a lefty, has an inherent sequence of striking her diagonal forehand into Baptiste's backhand. She requires to secure Baptiste into that ad surface prison. Continue striking substantial elevated balancing spheres to the Baptiste backhand. Force her behind the reference line and anticipate for the abbreviated sphere to assault. Make it demanding. We observed what occurred in Eastbourne. Eala is arguably the more conditioned athlete in terms of stamina. She requires to prolong the rallies. Do not activate the mechanism too prematurely. Make Baptiste strike 5, 6, 7 spheres every point. If the rally calculation surpasses 8 strikes, the victory likelihood shifts substantially to Eala. The delivery positioning. Eala isn't going to eliminate Baptiste off the surface with ace quantities. It's about positioning. The slider outward wide on the ad area is essential to reveal the surface. She requires an elevated initial delivery rate above 65%. To prohibit Baptiste from attacking on returns for Hailey Baptiste initial assault tennis, Baptiste cannot manage to enter into a grinding conflict with Eala. That is elimination. She requires to utilize her strength. Large delivery, large initial forehand. She requires to target for delivery +1 champions. Interrupt the cadence. Eala adores a pattern, she adores a steady velocity. Baptiste has the abilities to alter that. She requires to utilize the slice. She requires to introduce drop strikes. Bring Eala to the court, and region where Eala is capable but not as relaxed as she is on the reference line. If Baptiste can make the competition chaotic and disorganized, she has an opportunity. Control the sentiments. This is the significant one. Being a fortunate runner-up, competing a competitor who conquered you previous time, symbolizing the astonished Washington Supporter Foundation. There's substantial commotion in her consciousness. She requires to remain composed. If she gets interrupted early, she cannot deteriorate. 4. The location element. Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships. We must examine the arena. The Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships is a WTA 1000 tournament. This is the level directly beneath the Grand Slams. The points available are enormous. The compensation is existence-altering. The surfaces in Dubai are recognized for being comparatively rapid, but they can be complicated depending on the period of day. Day contests, the temperature makes the sphere travel. It becomes a striker's heaven. The sphere journeys through the atmosphere with reduced resistance. This benefits Baptiste strength competition. Night contests, the circumstances cool down. The surface decelerates up slightly. The sphere gets weightier. This benefits Eala's rotation and grind. Given the arrangement, this contest is approximately a 64 confrontation. The environment will be energetic. Dubai has an enormous Filipino immigrant population. When Eala competes in the Middle East, be it Doha, Abu Dhabi, or Dubai, it is essentially a domestic contest. The audience assistance for Eala will be thunderous. We observed this in her prior contests in the territory. The seating will be filled with banners applauding for every point she captures. This is a substantial disadvantage for Baptiste. She's not merely competing Eala, she's competing audience. She's competing against a barrier of commotion. For a competitor who can occasionally be sentimentally unstable, having 5,000 individuals applauding against you can be unsettling. Or if she directs her internal Washington resilience, she might utilize as motivation me against the universe. 5. The surprise element. Why this matters currently? Let's return to the heading. All of Washington astonished. Beyond the attention getter, there's a genuine story here about the path of American tennis versus the emergence of Asian tennis. Washington, D.C. has a substantial tennis background. It's the location of the city tournament. It's a center for ability. Tafo Baptiste. When a competitor like Baptiste, who has so much inherent gift, battles to penetrate through steadily, it is a source of worry for the regional supporters. The surprise is an awareness that today might be a pivotal moment. If Baptiste is defeated in this after obtaining a second existence as a fortunate runner-up, it raises inquiries. Can she exploit on possibilities? Is she destined to be a traveler? If she captures, it is the surprise of the tournament, conquering the emerging celebrity Eala, contradicting the head-to-head, quieting the pro-Filipino audience, and validating her position in the bracket. For Eala, a defeat here would be a surprise in the meaning of an obstacle. She's a preferred. The wagering platforms have her as a preferred. Roughly 55 to 60% suggested likelihood. She has the performance. She has a standing path. A defeat to a fortunate runner-up would be a stumble in her climb to the leading 30. 6. The psychological competition. I want to capture an instant to examine the mentality of the fortunate runner-up. In tennis, there's an occurrence recognized as the fortunate runner-up influence. Frequently, a competitor who is defeated in qualifying and then enters into primary bracket competes with zero burden. They have already been defeated. They have assembled their luggage. Suddenly, they are returned. This liberation can make them incredibly hazardous. Baptiste has nothing to forfeit today. No one anticipates her to capture. The burden is completely on Eala to confirm her preferred position. Eala has to be cautious not to be satisfied. She might examine at the bracket and believe I conquered her in Eastbourne. She was defeated in qualifying. This should be a standard capture. That mentality is toxic. She requires to acknowledge Baptiste's strength. So where does this position us? We're observing down the opening of contest that is everything a tennis supporter could desire. We have the country champion versus the local puzzle. We have the grinder versus the strike creator. We have the preferred versus the fortunate runner-up. The Washington surprise isn't merely about a heading. It's about the very genuine possibility that Hailey Baptiste could reverse the narrative today, but she must ascend a mountain to accomplish it, my judgment. While Hailey Baptiste has the firepower to eliminate anyone off the surface on her day, the circumstances in Dubai, combined with the overwhelming audience assistance for the Philippines and the strategic discipline of Alexandra Eala, makes the Filipino celebrity the legitimate preferred. I anticipate Baptiste to emerge swinging. I anticipate the initial section to be narrow, perhaps another tiebreak, reflecting their Eastbourne confrontation. But as the contest continues on, as the rallies get prolonged and as the burden increases, I observe Eala's steadiness and superior mobility assuming control. I'm forecasting a three-section confrontation likely concluding with an ELA triumph. But I repeat, do not dismiss the honor of Washington. If Baptiste delivers above 70%, all wagers are eliminated. The larger image. Regardless of outcome today, this contest is a proof to the worldwide expansion of tennis. We have a celebrity from Southeast Asia confronting a celebrity from the United States governmental center in the middle of the desert in Dubai. The sport is thriving. It is energetic and the narratives are superior than ever. Here's what I want you to accomplish. We're going to be monitoring this contest point by point, but I want to receive from you in the responses right now. Are you Team Eala displaying the banner for Philippines? Or are you Team Baptiste supporting the Washington, D.C. recovery narrative? Do you believe the fortunate runner-up curse or advantage will enter into effect? And what is your score forecast, direct sections or a 3-section excitement? Submit your forecasts beneath. I examine every solitary one of them, and if you appreciated this comprehensive investigation deconstruction. If you value the examination that progresses beyond merely reading the results, then make certain you press that approval button and follow to the platform. We're constructing the most educated tennis population on YouTube, and we desire you to be a component of it. Activate those alert signals because as soon as this contest is finished, we will be returned with a post-contest examination, the media gathering highlights and response from both groups. Will Washington remain astonished or will they be commemorating an enormous overthrow? We're about to discover. The competitors are preparing. The official is in the seat. The audience is discovering their positions. It is time for Eala. It is time for Baptiste. It is time for Dubai. Thank you for observing. Stay connected. The competition is active.